Yeah, what an asshole. All right. So you brought up Big Gulp. The Bloomberg mommy state thing. Blah 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 blah. Like all prohibition is the same, which it's not. Obviously, some activities, the only victim is yourself. You're not exploiting somebody else. You're just fucking yourself, and that certainly should be your right. And I could also use cigarettes as an example, where unlike fat and sugar, that causes people to have ill health, more expensive healthcare problems. Cigarettes are kind of fatal. It's more draconian a punishment, cleaner, and so they're actually a asset to other people's lives. People are richer because of cigarette smoking, not poorer. So the non-smokers are actually richer. So they really don't have any "I'm a victim" kind of complaint from cigarette smokers, where clearly people who take care of themselves do have a victim right to say you're wasting my resources with your bad habits. Clearly. That's a fact. So, yeah, ignore that. Fuck you. All right, and then that people don't like laws. Well, yeah, gee, news, boy, I needed you to explain that to me, that people don't like laws that they don't feel are protecting them. So, of course they don't. That means they shouldn't exist. The law shouldn't exist because people don't like laws that they can't understand what they exist for, and the victims that exist, and they don't care because they're glib, selfish assholes. We should assume the law is bad because it makes people feel unfree. No, we should just concede the point that the assholes who have a problem with wearing their goddamn fucking seatbelt are the assholes. The assholes who can't put their cell phone down and drive their fucking car are the assholes. Okay, not the people you're saving from being killed by one of those assholes. The victims deserve the rational protection of the abolition, the disincentives of abolitionism, whatever, again, abolitionism means. What exactly are you saying? I'm saying kill them for committing the crime, or am I saying discourage the crime, you'll have less of the crime? And so then he brings it back to black markets. He says, like, somehow this is a subject. The subject is somehow we get rid of black markets by creating legal markets. And that evidence doesn't demonstrate that. So again, that's your non sequitur. You're evading the subject because your legal markets don't end the black markets. So, and then I guess it depends on the kind of black market. I mean, you could argue there's no black market in gambling anymore, substantive one. But that's because the legal market is so expansive. So again, unless you're going to make a lot of stuff legal in your legalized prostitution that is borderline victim creating, the ones who need to do this a more aggressive exploitation are going to still create their black markets, and we already see that. Again, all around the world we see it. We see where the money goes, and it's going younger and younger, and you're just pretending that the problem is solved by having legal prostitution. And let's also understand black markets are smaller markets, and so right there you have kind of a win because you have a smaller market. So it's a lot easier to manage a small market than a big market. And again, with something like prostitution, I don't. It's got intrinsic problems, and ones that you're erasing with leprechaun magic, nothing realistic. So until you fix those real problems, I think a conversation about your fantasy world where it has non-consequential is just bullshit. No victims that you give a shit about. And that's what it comes down to. They're just victims you don't care enough about. So you'll write them off. Where I won't. Because I'm not an asshole like you.
So I sort of would argue that you have to have some sort of instinctive maybe,
okay, well, that's right. So he said this has nothing to do with the subject, right? So I made the comment about, I don't have an answer for human sexuality. it's difficult. The problem between men and women is difficult. Lots of these things are difficult. And you're not going to solve them with a social answer. And I'm just saying, I think, as I explained, you're not going to do anything constructive to the relationship between men and women by creating legal prostitution. So if you have any vision that there's any hope of these two animals becoming anything but separate species, I mean, that's what they essentially, that they'll never reproduce in the future. They'll never create, well, that's to my advantage, right? No, we'll see the women will reproduce. They'll just do the microwave thing, but yeah, to have anything constructive between men and women, you're not going to have that as soon as you turn it into this monetized, commoditized, crass contract. No chance at all. But I'm just saying it. But there's no the fix. There's no fix for it. There's no way to make it all right. That ain't going to happen. I hate jumping in again, but man, he's just so fucking obnoxious. I mean, to make accusations that somebody else is on tangents or non sequiturs or didn't get a point right. I mean, fuck. So I'm talking about the fact that men and women have intrinsic problems, biological differences and whatnot. And then he starts talking about men and women in the workplace, which is a separate subject altogether. I still wouldn't even concede his point that it's not an issue, because I think it is, obviously. I think a lot of men have a big problem with having a woman ordering them about and such. So I think it's just nonsense to say those issues don't even exist, because of course they do. But this isn't what I was talking about at all. I'm talking about the relationship between men and women. I'm talking about divorce rates. I'm talking about the fact that it's really hard for these two organisms to find a way to live with each other in some sort of really constructive way, to actually do something in terms of relationships that is, a good idea, because it often turns into a really bad idea. And that's just sort of systemic. But it had nothing to do with workplace. I mean, obviously workplace has rules, and most of the time people can obey the rules of where they work, and they can't really get caught up in gender politics. Man. Whew. Back again. Anyway, so this part just seemed really stupid. You got this whole preference thing. So again, he turns it into a preference. So this is all somehow about preferences, and it's not about victims again. It's not about trying to find the best solution, okay? Where, yeah, if somebody wants to be personally self-destructive, and they can make some sort of argument that they're doing so rationally, then yes, they should have the right. But again, that's not what any of these subjects have anything to do with, is the fact that people are hurting themselves. No, they're going to hurt somebody else in the end, ultimately, with that liberty. The liberty comes at a price. Just like, it's like gun ownership or anything else. If I give you the right to own a gun, then guns are going to end up in the hands of some crazy fuck, or some Alzheimer's loony, or some other kind of circumstance, and people are going to become victims because of it. And you can sort of hear what he thinks the victims hear, I guess, because I can't really believe that he said this shit, but let's see. But he has this minimize the victim mentality. So, no real concession that victims exist. I'm getting that stupid spinny thing. Oh, it's just so irritating. Fuck. I hate YouTube sometimes.
Far more dispreferences.
Alright, dispreferences. Well, that's interesting terminology. I basically he's going to make the argument, I think, that speeding, not allowing people to speed causes more suffering than the harm that the laws against speeding prevent by preventing the unnecessary accidents.
Whether or not they want to get married, they still want to preserve civil unions, knowing that it still results in some of those civil unions going badly.
Well, again, your abolitionism word is your word, okay? You're telling me that it always means draconian abolitionism. So if you're saying to me, do I solve the problem by killing? If I kill all the women, then there won't be any need to worry about this subject, right? All the women are dead. There's no prostitution. So, well, I mean, it'd be all homosexual prostitution then, right? So it'd be a whole different subject. But whatever. I mean, there's no boundaries to this ill reason. The point is what's best? What's best? What's the best solution? And sanction isn't the best solution.
We can make speed limits a lot more inconvenient for the overwhelming majority, and in doing so, prevent a good number of fatalities on the road. Far more this preference is actualized in terms of sheer convenience for a minority of fatalities. The cause.
So again, somehow the fatalities don't matter, so I guess. Is that what you heard? That's what I heard. For a minority of fatalities. So what if you cripple a couple of kids? Who cares? Speeding's important. I don't think so.
Benefit analysis is preposterous, and I would make the argument the same applies to attempting to micromanage an entire profession, an entire segment of the
again, you can call it a profession, you can call it lots of things. It's a fucking, it's a depraved state of being that we are stuck in because civilization doesn't provide a normal life for us. Okay, we don't live any kind of natural existence. We live an unnatural, caged animal life, and our psychology gets a little fucked up. But really, the real world is no benefit either, okay? The non-civilization of living our nature would be alpha males, domination, dictatorship, 1 in 100 elephant seals get to have sex, males. Obviously, nature doesn't work for them, so maybe some civilization would be a good idea.
Population, just because there's a possibility that you will have prevented people from doing something that they otherwise would rather not have done.
Again, I don't care about what they'd rather not have done, so you keep changing the subject to some, I want to manage what people are doing to themselves, and that's not the fucking subject, so you keep talking like prostitution is some non-exploitive, voluntary act that people get into, not because of any kind of pariah mentality. There's no predator shenanigans going on whatsoever. No cries of exploitation can be made. Fuck you. That is just nonsense. And again, if you create your utopia where everybody's a millionaire and then the millionaires decide to be hookers, fine, okay then. I guess you've made your argument that they are psychopathically hookers. And they just must be hookers. So they want to sleep with fat, smelly, dirty, disease-ridden men. Okay. For trinkets. For plastic Cracker Jack prizes. Because they don't need the money. They're just doing it for a pet on the head. Fuck you.
Had they been able to see how the future would have unfolded. And a percentage of those people would say, yeah, okay, I wish the government would have stopped me from doing it because I didn't want to end up doing it anyway.
Again, that's not the subject. The subject is, I'm only defending things where there's victims, okay? So you want to pretend that I'm not defending things that I'm trying to prevent the victim status. And you want to pretend the argument's about me telling other people how to live their life. And frankly, I would if they're overtly eating poo or something. I think it's only responsible to say, man, you're way out of control there, buddy. Let's see if we can fix that. But I'd also be just as willing to put a bullet in their head.
There's no way to spin this into a rational cost-benefit analysis. There's just no way to do it. And I'm someone who's sympathetic.
Well, whatever. It says you. There's no way. There's no way. I think the easiest way is not to sit there and say it makes sense to give up and say, let's just let everything turn to shit. No. There's definitely pieces of this rowboat we can preserve.
Because on a visceral level, on a snap judgment level, when I see some of this shit going on, I do sort of go, oh, degeneracy. That sort of sucks. What has society come to? Right? So there's that visceral, psychologically inclined, you can say, snap judgment.
It's not psychologically inclined. To recognize, again, you're just pretending there's no way to recognize victims. And of course there is. How the hell did you get back in? Did I let you back in? You little beastie. Come on, up here. got to train everything, right? Everything's got to be trained, and human beings need to be trained and encouraged and, you know, properly incentivized. Come on. You get a pet if you jump up here. Yes, you will. You get a pet. Come on. That's right. See? Reward and punishment. Really important things. And you're just pretending there's nothing to it. That's no value. Reward, punishment? No, that's not a real psychological phenomenon. Yeah, it is.
That I make myself. But I don't try to convert that into policy. Policy is a different animal. When you analyze policy...
Yeah, well, this is just so patronizing and retarded. I mean, again, so, yeah, and I'll point out to you that the victims of your behavior are real. They're not just a statistic somewhere. They're a real victim. They're going to pay the price. You have no right to impose the price, period. Blah, blah, blah.
Calls on you to humiliate that snap judgment.
Look, it's like if people want drug legalization, they have to come to the table with some kind of responsibility. They have to say, look, let me have the right to use drugs, and I'll take on the responsibility of being punished, all right, if I show up to work on drugs, or if I kill people, or I do this, or I do that. You got to take responsibility for it. If you're not willing to take extra responsibility, then you shouldn't have extra liberty.
Of your psyche.
I mean, gun owners don't want to take any responsibility for the drunks and the fights and the stupid shit and the ex-wives and all the rest of the shit that gets damaged by their gun right ownership. They don't want to take any responsibility for the fucking victims. And it's just bogus. That's a social cost. Yeah, we all should pay for their right to own guns. Well, fuck that. They should be paying for it. It's their fucking precious liberty. Anyway. I can't believe I'm only halfway through this shit. Fuck. Yeah, alright. So he just keeps denying the existence of victims, and so there's really not much you can do with this. He thinks, you know, there's something he doesn't understand about commoditizing. He doesn't know what that means in terms of the fact that it just means exploitation. That's what it means, profit. You know, lowest common denominator, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so it's, the people really, they choose to be exploited. There's nothing you can do about it. And basically he called it something like cognitively healthy adults, whatever the fuck that means. We understand that we live in a world where people don't do the right thing, and they have really bad habits, you know, where they actually will pollute the environment and poison their water and do all kinds of things like that. And these are all cognitively healthy people. So again, it's just not about being cognitively healthy. It just doesn't mean anything. What it means something is the long-term versus short-term gain. We know that's a real problem with human psychology. People can't look far ahead. They can only look short-sighted. What's in there? What's in it for me? And that kind of psychology doesn't work. It doesn't have any of the components of civilization. It will not get you to the future and into a better place. All right, now he's on the economy stuff, which he just is obviously clueless of what's taken place. The rich have gotten steadily richer since the Great Depression. Okay. They got wiped out in the Great Depression and just have been building it back up again. They have a mountain of wealth once again. Well, they have a mountain of claims, and the debt is huge. Okay, so where debt was mostly business before, it's now, but it was business debt because of credit. You know, just you know, I'll sell you a car today that you pay for later. So that debt, business debt, was basically personal debt that they really didn't. They counted things differently. But anyway, so it's just the same thing. So you've just gotten people back up to huge amounts of debt, and he has this whole theory that somehow the rich, it's in their interest to keep the people comfortable. It's not in their interest. Keep them busy and distracted and blighted and burdened is their interest, and to keep a police state to enforce all of that. So I mean, this idea that they're going to come up with this wonder machine and it's going to do everything. and there'll be infinite resources. We'll all have the supermodel wife. We all get to have the beach house that's the closest to the beach. You know, we all get to live in the high rise that has the best view of the city or whatever. We all get the best of best of best, and there's absolutely no difference, and there's not going to be any competitiveness, and there's not going to, no, bullshit, fuck that, you're silly. So anyway, here's bragging about how Marx got it wrong. No, Marx got it right. And we are basically been driven to a meager existence. Most of the working world, most of the people doing productive work in the world are not living much of a life. They're working. They're machines. They don't have any life.
Concur to that, but much of the 20th century disproved those predictions. So,
says you. Again, I think Marx was right on. The wealth all migrated to a few people, and the vast majority of people are living in shit. Okay, we got 3.7 people living in horrid poverty. They don't own any wealth, and like I said, the working poor, another couple of billion at least, are working, 70 hours a week and don't live a thing called a life.
There did get a lot of technological advancement benefits throughout various decades, thanks to, in part, to Keynesian policies.
It's not the trend.
Ah, you're an idiot. Yeah, debt money. Yeah, that's a really great idea. Debt is so brilliant. It doesn't make the rich richer. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, it does. Preposterously richer. Idiot.
So certainly the first step to reverse that trend, before we even possibly have this conversation about people's choice to become a hooker in their free time or whatever, sex slave in their free time.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be that much of a political battle to reverse that trend, or to just simply do away with a few patents and tweak intellectual property laws.
Yeah, whatever. So again, I don't know. This is all daydream bullshit. Okay, so we're going to have these magic robots that'll do all the work, and all the rest of us will just sit here and just pollute the fuck out of the planet and just pull resources out of it like it doesn't cost anybody anything, and everything will be just fine. And we won't need any regulation on any of that shit either, right? Well, yeah, everybody just has 10 kids. Who cares? Everything's free. Power's free. Everything's free. There's an unlimited supply of everything. Bullshit. Or whatever. It's bullshit. Preposterous bullshit. There's nothing else to say to that, right? It's just too silly. Nobody could be buying this crap. We just change a few little pet. Yeah, look, it's no problem getting the money from the rich. I'm just saying. I mean, frankly, you do it tomorrow. Just end inheritance, and all the money will come back. The problem is, there's no will to do it. Right? And secondarily, part of what's made us so productive is slavery. So that's just the fact. The fact is, we wouldn't have gotten this far, progress-wise, unless we had this horrible exploitation. It's very profitable to squeeze the life out of the most human beings, so a few privileged human beings in the West can live a nice, comfortable life. Or more comfortable. But like I said, none of this buys us some immunity, and we know that people can have billions of dollars and still not enough. Donald Trump thinks he needs all 10 of his $1 billion. He needs all 10 of them. You couldn't possibly give $1 billion away. I mean, no, I need all 10 of them. They're very precious. I mean, that's human psychology, and you're calling that healthy and normal and respectable, and I'm saying, no, it's not respectable psychology. Humans are full of non-respectable, disrespectable psychology, and it is the obligation of civilization to at least say, there's a $50 fine for that. That's at least the obligation. Fucker.
If it were disadvantageous to the rich to do that, then you might have grounds for skepticism, but I don't think it is disadvantageous. They're not stupid. They're going to realize that they don't want 95% of human beings with empty stomachs.
Oh yeah, like they're really afraid. They might have a march on Wall Street, where like, I'm not marching unless I get some free pizza. I'm not holding this sign for nothing. Where's my pizza? Sure. Yeah, they're just shaking in their boots, the rich are.
But I made the point, so I'm not going to repeat it.
As a fantasy item, something to do for...
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty close to getting Donald Trump elected president. Do you think the rich are scared? I mean, he's a serious candidate, for fuck's sake. We only have millionaires and billionaires as choices for our leadership. Yeah, the rich are really scared of us. The commies are coming. Obama was more Reagan than Reagan, for fuck's sake. You're really dumb. You've gotten awful dumb. The model must be a damn hell of a lot of lead up there in Canada. Man, you people are getting awful dumb. Alright, so, he just made the comparison, it said again, all professions, it just keeps comparing hooking to all professions, like it's hairdressing or something. And obviously it's not. It's not even close. So, just keep pretending it's, just because it always has been commoditized and human civilization has always lacked the ability to do something constructive about it, doesn't mean that that's the way it should be. That's like saying dog fighting. Well, we made that illegal. We made bullfighting illegal. We made lots of things illegal, and it's all for the best. All right, the benefits far outweigh the losses in terms of whatever. And I could argue you could do that with veganism and a lot of other stuff. It could do nothing but improve the physical and mental health of the human organism. No doubt about it. Asshole. This is not a frickin' profession that produces anything of value. Again, this is entertainment nonsense. And again, it's entertainment that costs an awful lot. So if movies, how many kids are you allowed to kill per movie? Let's say we kill 4 kids per movie. Or we, paralyzed is always better, right? 4 little kids paralyzed per million, per $200 million movie or something. Nobody, okay, that's all acceptable. Everybody says, fine, that's okay. Yeah, it's all right with me. It's not my kids, right, of course. Isn't that what it comes down? Not in my backyard yet, not my kids. It's okay if you paralyze their kids, but not my kids. Fuck this bullshit. So anyway, I should just say, fuck, this is enough of this video. I think we've beaten enough of it to death, and so again, my fundamental argument is his philosophy is basically negates the existence of victims and pretends that the gratification of human beings is some sort of a real positive that merits real negatives. You can pay real negatives, force somebody else to pay them for the benefits of your gratifications. And fundamentally, that's where I'm saying, no, that isn't acceptable, and we only accept it where we have to. You have to have infrastructure. You have to have bridges. You have to have dangerous things in the world. You don't like it, but you have to. You don't have to legalize prostitution. You can still discourage it, and you can create barriers. It doesn't have to be draconian, but it's abolitionism in the sense that, there's nothing endorsing it. There's no permission to be an asshole. The society isn't saying, I permit you to be a jackass. No, it's saying, don't be a dirty little scumbag. Yeah, rise above it, shithead. You can do better than paying some poor woman to suck your dick. Eek. Anyway, till next time. Such.